Hello again, welcome back. We're going to continue talking about Redux and React. And in the last video, I set a couple challenges for you to create a, remove from cart button, a clear cart button, or clear from cart, and a clear cart button, right? So this is like remove from cart. This is clear from cart, right? Let's think about renaming these. Didn't like these names. Well, I'll just leave them. Okay, so just remember though, remove from cart is the opposite of add to cart. So this is like +1, adds 1 item, right? Let's actually put a comment on that. Adds 1 of ID to the cart. Okay, this subtracts 1, right? This removes all of the ID, right? So not everything, but just 1 item, right? And all of that item. And then this removes all the items in the cart, okay? Now, we have the action names up here, but we actually need to have a function for each one of these. So let's do that. So let's do export and then remove from cart. So again, my naming convention is that I just do the camel case version of this name down here, okay? And here's our function. And we will need the ID, so I'll use the index here the same way I did this other one, right? And then we are going to return, actually I guess I gotta say const here, and then I'll return an object, and it has to have a type. So we're gonna say type is remove from cart, okay? And then we will have to have a payload. So we'll put payload colon, and then I'll put the index. So it's actually exactly like this one, except the type is different. Okay, so it'll look exactly like that one, right? So now we're going to do remove all from cart. Okay, so actually, or clear from cart is the one, right? So let's do that. So let's do export const clear from cart equals, and this will need to know the index of the item that you're clearing, so we'll receive it as a parameter, and then we're going to return an object with a type. Okay, see the pattern here? It's pretty organized, right? So once you understand this, I think it actually really pays off, right? And then this one actually is going to be exactly like the last two, right? Because we need to pass the index, okay? Now the last one, clear cart, okay? So clear cart, let's do that one. This one's going to be a little bit different. Const clear cart equals a function here like this, and we don't need to say anything because if we're clearing the entire cart, there's really no information that we need, right? And like always, we're going to return an object with a type, okay? And our type in this case is going to be clear cart, and since we don't have any payload, there's no information to include, we don't need to include it. Done, okay? So now let's tackle our shopping cart reducer, okay? So again, we're not hunting code down, looking at various components or digging through other files. We just go directly to reducers because once we have actions, those actions are handled here. Okay, so I'll go to my shopping cart reducer here, and let's import our action types. So I've got the add to cart. I'm going to do remove from cart, clear cart, and clear from cart. Okay, so those are my 3 new actions. Right, and now let's use them. So over here, I'm going to get rid of these console logs, right? And this is our first action here, and then the default. So now remember, if we don't return new state, we just return state unchanged, right? So here, I've copied state, and I return it, and then here I copy it, and I return it. And let's add a new action now. So I'll put a new case down here, and let's make this remove from cart. So this should be remove 1 item. So I'm going to say removes 1 item, okay, of ID, right? And then I'm going to say clear from cart, okay? So we'll say removes all items of ID, okay? And then let's do case, and I'm going to say clear cart, right? And this is like removes all items, you know? Let's say all IDs, right? So removes all IDs from the cart, okay? So I'm getting a little bit of I'm getting an error here because switch doesn't like it if you, when you use switch and case, if you if you don't return inside the switch case, you need to include a break, okay? So you can see that gets rid of the yellow, right? If you have a return in here, then you don't need to get rid of the break, or you don't need to include the break, right? So if I say return, it'll be happy too, but I need something to return, and I haven't written the code for that. So I'm just going to say return state for now. And the reason I'm going to do this is because we're going to tackle the last problem first, because this is like the easiest one right here. So we might as well just knock that one out, right? So let's do return state. Okay, so that should be good. No yellow underlines or red underlines, right? So what do we do here when we clear the cart, right? Well, our default cart, you know, or an empty cart should look like that. So actually, you know, if you clear the cart, all you need to do is this. Right there, we just cleared the cart. So like I said, we're going to tackle this one first because it's the easiest one. Okay? Let's tackle the second one, right? So what I want to do here is I want to search through my array of items in the cart and look for an item that matches this action.payload.index. And if it matches that, I don't want to include it. So actually we can use filter for this, right? So because that's what we're doing, is we're basically just going to filter out the item that has this. And when we remove that item, it'll be removing all, you know, the ID and the quantity, right? So this is the second easiest one. So let's tackle that, right? So actually, you know, you could stop the video here and see if you could do it, right? So give it a try, right? So what you want to do is you want to filter out state, right? And filter returns a new array, so that's okay to return from here because it'll be a new array, right? So we want to filter it for where the ID matches this index. Okay, how did you do? Let's try it together, right? So I'm going to say state dot filter, and this is going to give me an item. And what I want to do is I only want to keep that item if the item.id does not equal action.payload.index. Okay? So if the index matches, then this is going to be false, right? Because it says does not equal. So if these two don't match, then this is true and we keep that item. Okay? So if they don't match, we keep it. If they do match, you know, that was the one that we wanted to get rid of. Okay? Okay, great. So now let's do the same thing here. We could use a for loop here. You know, maybe I could have done this one here as map to, I don't think so actually, I think because we got to return early. But let's try map on this one, right? So if you want to try this one, the idea here is you want to map over all the items in your state. And remember, map's going to return a new array, so you can just return the result of map here. But what you want to do is when you're mapping, you want to say, hey, does the item's ID match the action.payload.index? And if it does, we want to subtract one from the quantity. Okay? So we want to loop over these guys. We can do it with map. And if they match, if one of them, if the ID of the item matches the payload index, then we want to subtract one from the quantity of that item. Okay? Bonus problem to solve. Then we want to filter the list, and if the quantity is 0, we want to remove it. Okay? Give that a try. stop the video and give it a try. Okay, how did you do? Let's try that one together, right? So I'll give it a try here. So I want to do state, and then I'm going to do .map. We'll get an item, and what I want to do is I want to say item. Actually, I guess I gotta have a line return here because I want a little bit of space there, right? So I'm going to say like if. I'll do it kind of the long form. You can always shorten it later, but sometimes I like writing it out in the long form. It's a little easier to read. So I'm going to say item.id if it equals the action payload index. Then we know we got to subtract 1 from this item's quantity. So I'm going to say item.quantity minus equals 1. Okay? And then we're going to return that item. Okay? So this should be an array of the items, except in this case, the item could it could go from 1 to 0 to -1 to -2, right? And that could be strange. They could the shopping, like when I check out, I could be issued a refund, right? Which I'm not, you know what I mean. So that could be a problem. If it gets to 0, we need to remove it. So what I'm like, remember, map is going to return, like when we get all the way to here, it's going to return an array. So we can call filter on that array. Okay. And then when this returns an array, that's what we're going to finally return when we get up to here, right? Well, when we get all the way down to here, that'll be the final thing that we return. So we got to do all of this code and then all of this code, and then we're going to return. So let's take a look at the item. And remember, we want to return true if we want to keep that item and false if we don't. So I'm going to say item.quantity is greater than 0. So if the quantity is greater than 0, then we're going to keep that item because that'll be true. And if it's 0 or less, we're not going to keep that item. Okay? So that was a pretty long video. I think that this is working, right? So you can try it on your own. So and here's my last challenge before we stop this video. The challenge here now is that we have our actions, right? So I've got the actions defined up here, and they're handled in our, remember, they're like remove from cart, clear cart, and and clear from cart, right? We have those, and we have those actions handled here, and hopefully this is working. It looks pretty good, hopefully this is working in shopping cart reducer. So your challenge now is this: go to the shopping cart item, right? So shopping cart item is the thing with the name, the price, and the quantity. And what you want to do is add a couple buttons here, right? So we need to import our actions. So let's do this. Let's do import, remove from cart, clear from cart, right? We'll do the clear cart somewhere else because we don't want each one of these items in the cart to have a link, right? So we'll put that somewhere else. It'll go in shopping cart up here, right? But for the shopping cart item, we want to use these two actions here. And then we also need to, if we're going to use an action, we need to import use dispatch, right? So you figure out where that lives, right? And go get that, right? And then down here, let's put a comment in here. You're going to make a button that's, remove from cart. And actually, maybe we want to also have a +1 to add a new item to cart. So maybe up here we should also have, add to cart. So we should import that, right? And so then we should have a remove from cart button. We should have a button for add to cart, right? And then we should have a button for clear from cart. So this removes all the items, okay? So this one's like, -1. This one's like the +1, right? And this is like removes all. Okay, so set these up and use dispatch to issue your actions. Okay, so that's my challenge for this video, and then I'll see you in the next video. Try that on your own, and then we can catch up and compare notes. Okay, and again, thanks again for watching, and have a great day.